Hey everybody, this is Greg. I want to talk to you about one of the things that was on my mind concerning the time travel. At first, I was having a hard time with this because I'm a product of Back to the Future and all the different time stories and a Butterfly Effect and Frequency and all those different movies where time travel has a thing where if you change something yesterday, you're gonna mess it up today. So if you go back and you shoot your or beat up your grandfather's gonna have scars today. If you break your arm in the past, you're gonna have a broken arm or scar in the future or in the present. So what happens is this in the movie, what they did, including with Terra Nova and different things like that, with the time travel, they have alternate branching dimensions. So you have a dimension thing where it's no longer just one dimension; it's branching dimension. And so to really quickly sum this up, what this means is that instead of it having one dimension, one timeline, right, that kind of goes through all of things, what they do is that they actually have a branching timeline. So it's like this, for example. Let's take a draw a picture. Well, it's like this. You have a situation that are very similar, very, very similar with slight differences. And so what happens if you go back in time, so you're here in time, right? You go in time here and you go back to the present or back to the past, right? What happens is that when you go back to the past, you're not really going back to the past in your world. You're going back to the past in another dimension because if you go back, you can't go back and change back your time. Now so to go back to your time, you have to go to another dimension and then come back to your time. It's kind of like you're going like a sewing type thing. So what they did was that in the thing, they went to a different timeline, and from the timeline, they borrowed things. Took things here, they went to this one, and they took things here, and went to this one, took things here, and they came back to their present timeline, which is now in the future, and what they were able to fix, and then after that, they go take stuff and put it back into that timeline, and put it back into this timeline, and put it back into that timeline. So what it does was that they just kind of borrowed it for a second, and they put it back. And that's the only way I could understand it, because if you try and start thinking about how it works, the only time it starts breaking down is the whole Captain America thing. For me, in my mind, the whole Captain America thing is how when he went to he decided to go into the past and stay there for a while, and then he's supposed to come back in like a second. So I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. That when he came back, he wasn't, one, on the platform, two, that he was an older person, and three, that pretty much his whole suit and everything like that. It's just he's supposed to come back. So I don't know, how did he sabotage it to make sure he didn't come back. He gets to never push the button to come back. He must have just lived there. But then it's like he would have seen everything that's going on in the current timeline, including, the Infinity War stuff, everything, all this stuff, everything happening without him being there, in the current timeline. Unless, of course, went back and did the same thing. Instead of him taking out from the timeline, he went and lived in an alternate timeline. And then when it came back to the certain time, he decided to jump back into this reality that he was the current one. So that's the only way I could think of that as a possibility. The next thing too, there was a part where Nebula shoots Nebula, and then the other thing too that made me think was like he taken one of the hammer out of Thor took the hammer and he brought it back with him to the present or to this dimension, and then from this dimension, Captain America had to go and put it back into the dimension that he took it out from. So it's kind of like it's like a timeline branch, and the GPS had to find the different branches to go to. So it's like you don't, this one main one you can't really alter. The main one that you're on is unalterable. It kind of continues on. So when you're gone for like 1 second, you come back 1 second, but you had to go to a different timeline because it's like it's kind of advancing forward, advancing seconds. So they figured out how to do that. But it was funny how Tony figured out time travel like in an evening. I was like, okay, now he can make elements. He can make arc reactors out of paper clips and stuff. Hey, he can make a missile and use bombs and do different things. And now he does time travel using the Mobius loop. The Mobius loop is like a loop that has only one side, so it's like one side. I have no idea how you tie a Mobius loop into a time travel type thing, because that doesn't make any sense. Because according to science, or according to the way a Mobius loop works, and I have a video of a Mobius loop, you don't link. It's only one side, because the way it is a twist in it. So as you twist, it only works as it becoming one side. And so if you tie a Mobius loop, the whole loop of it all, which is like you're only wearing down one side, because the way it works in a Mobius loop, the thing happens is that I'd still that everything's connected. So for you to go and come back, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's pretty much what I want to tell you about there. We all knew that there's going to be some kind of time travel aspect in this movie. We're not sure exactly where it was going to be. And when I saw Avengers Infinity War yesterday, I said to myself, this makes sense in terms of getting stuff back, because I had to sit there and think about it. But they had to go and take it out, use it, bring it back, put it back. without altering the whole dimension of everything. So that's pretty much interesting there. Thanks so much for listening. I'll have another topic in a moment. Bye bye.